David, real quick while I
Yeah.
have you, just want to
Good.
let you know I have likely a hard stop 6:30.
Okay, maybe we'll be done, Kevin.
Hey, I like your ambition.
I'm out to set a record tonight. I've got to top Vanessa's record of when Brian was out of town.
And I totally want him to top it. So please exceed and blow my record away. It's all you.
We
David,
are all rooting for you.
David, I thought you were trying to break Jack's records when he used to have those 3-hour meetings.
I'm not going there. I see Jack online. I'm not going there.
Oh, Jack.
Oh, Jack. Marianne's 5 minutes late. Just got a note. Who is controlling the screen, if I may ask?
That's Patrick.
Patrick, can you move it to the agenda, please? There we go. I see it.
I'm back in. It was frozen.
Okay.
Where's the volume?
Can you make the agenda a little bigger for those of us who are old and can't see as well?
Ha ha ha.
Well, you're old.
Okay.
Good man.
Ooh.
You're old, Brian.
Never ever put a young person in charge of the cursor.
Patrick heard that.
I just appreciate being called young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't hear anyone else saying me too.
Because you didn't call anybody else young.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
Right.
All right, we got about a minute and we'll get started. Okay, why don't we, I think we've got a quorum here and Marianne is joining us shortly. So let's go ahead and get started for the Board of Directors meeting for Celebration Residential Owners Association. Here we are, January 27th, 2021. We'll start with owners' comment period. As we do in this meeting, the owners' comments are at the beginning of the meeting and workshops there when we're talking about various items. So do we have anyone, an owner, who would like to speak? You can raise your hand or wave into the screen. Is that Steve? Wave? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Steve. Okay, good.
Steve's on.
Steve, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Steve Northridge, 1130 Chapter Drive. Two separate unrelated issues. First one was related to meeting minutes being posted and videos being posted. Right now, maybe they've been relocated, but right now they don't go past October 30th. So I'd like to find out where they are. And the second issue is related to the meeting coming up on February 1st. There was some discussion potentially having an engineering report and some other materials that might be available prior to that meeting and be posted. Is that still anticipated, or
Yeah.
what are we doing with that?
Let me just jump in. I was going to announce that when we got into the adopting the
Okay.
agenda. So the answer to the second one is forthcoming. The materials are available and the meeting will be, they'll be publicly available. You'll see that soon, but let me talk more about that later.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And the other item was meeting minutes and
Yeah.
videos posted.
Yeah.
So the November minutes are approved tonight and the December board workshop and board meeting minutes. So as soon as those are approved tonight, then we get them signed and they'll be posted.
What about the videos?
Patrick and I are working on those.
And so that'll go back, I mean, we've had them available for what, 4 or 5 years historically.
Yeah, the recordings that we've been starting with Zoom. So we're working to get all those posted and caught up.
Okay, and so perhaps that can be a notice in Friday Flash, perhaps, that's just to say, here's where they are.
David, if I can just
Please,
ask.
go
a
ahead.
question. So I
Please.
understand, Susanna, that we post minutes after they're approved by the board. That makes total sense. The policy, and I know we've been in a transition, so this is not even meant to be critical. The policy with videos is we post them as soon as practical, right? So we catch up and then we'll do it in the future. We'll do it as soon as practical.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, historically, it's been like the next day or whenever we
In the
can.
next 48 hours or so.
48
yeah.
hours, okay. So thank you for raising those, Steve. And hopefully we'll get some resolution on both of those soon. One of them you'll see very soon. Anyone else for owner's comment, please? Either raise your hand or wave into the screen. Seeing,
I think I think Gary Hadsmith, you're either unmuted or you wanted to talk, or you are not muted by accident.
Unmuted by accident.
Got it.
David, I'll just make a comment following that previous comment there.
Sure.
I'm happy to say that the management has made a way for electronic signature for the minutes, which has
Okay.
really been a huge help to go ahead and get these to move forward prior to the in-person manual, which was necessary in the past.
okay, good to know. Thank you. Any other owner comments before we move to the meeting per se? Okay, let's, Neil, can we verify that the meeting was properly noticed? Or Susanna?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Yep, per state statute 720, the meeting was noticed according to the law.
okay, and verifying a quorum, please.
You have a quorum, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll formally call the meeting to order, and do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Motion to adopt the agenda with the removal of number 9. It is my understanding per David that there is no longer a need for number 9.
Okay, do we have a second to that? Was that Kevin's voice that I heard?
Yeah, it
Valid
was
point.
Kevin.
Thank you, Vanessa, and I'll second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, approval of the minutes, the CROA board meeting and CROA board workshops. I know that the board has seen all of these and provided comments. These are the final versions. We need to formally approve. Do we have a motion for both of those? Oh, that's actually 3 sets of minutes.
So moved.
Motion to,
That was
Brian,
Brian,
I'll
that was
second.
Brian, and Vanessa second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. I know we have this in our board packet. ARC, dog park, finance, special events, technology, RFP.
On the, you want me to do RFP and technology, David, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's start with the RFP. The important thing for everyone to know is if you clicked on RFP, you would actually go down and on page 85, if we can on the thing there, page 85, the group has been meeting almost every single week with the exception of like a holiday for Thanksgiving on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Group is meeting for 3-hour meetings now. From a board liaison perspective, it's David, Diana, and myself. And then we've got the group of 5 on the task force. I'm still personally of the opinion, and I'll let Diana and David speak in a second, that the task force is actually quite crisp. The lessons learned from the charter have done very well. Gary's a good facilitator and drill sergeant and everything else that goes with running a task this size and does it well. We made the decision at the last meeting, and that's what's reflected here. If I can just get you to bounce it down just a little, Patrick. as a refresher, we went out to 270 plus companies. 270 plus companies were evaluated by the task force. We sent the RFQ out to 35 companies and 14 responded. What we have been working on, and out of those 14, in my personal opinion, all 14 of them were quite qualified. We're still talking about how small a number to take that down to, but we came up with a good list of companies well qualified. In looking at the timeline, we were trying to have the RFP recommendation come to this board instead of a new board, just because this board is in existence and up to speed on this thing. And it just became clear that that was not going to work. The RFP document and the statement of work require a lot of coordination, a lot of time, and we really felt we needed 3 or 4 more meetings. So what we've done here now is we've said, okay, we have a meeting of the task force tomorrow. I'm right there in the middle of it. We have February 4 meetings, and then we have a final meeting on March 4th. The election is on March 2nd, and on March 5th is when we have the orientation meeting for the new directors, of which we will have at least 3 and maybe 4. So in reality, we said, okay, let's get it done on March 4th, and then let's distribute, and then a week after that, we'll distribute it to the board. So we'll make any final decisions. Gary can do polishing between the 4th and 11th. It would come to the board, and what would come to the board is the RFP document, the statement of work. And right now, based on where we're at, the RFP document and statement of work is going to be 16, 17 pages. It takes a while to read and think through. And then however many out of the 14 RFQ respondents that we're recommending to the board. So we're providing the board from March 11th to the week of March 22nd to review that, which gives you a good 10 or 12 days. And for new board members, it's probably needed. We would then have a meeting. What the heck just happened? Something just happened. Did we lose?
We lost the main screen.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Coming back.
Okay, good. We're thinking then the week of March 22nd, and when we have that orientation meeting on the 5th, we'll actually set that date to have the new board come together, have the discussion of the RFP process. It'll be a legal meeting with Tom Slayton there because it's not open to the public yet. It's not open to management. Being CCMC is, to be fair to both them and to anybody else who might want to compete with them. And then we would mail the documents on March 29th. We would have on-site guided tours for the management companies in April of the however many we send it to. We would request their responses by June 1st. And then there would be oral presentations to the CROA board and the task force in late June or July. And then after those oral presentations, then the task force would make recommendations to the CROA board, and the CROA board would be responsible for discussing those, agreeing or disagreeing with the task force, perfectly fine, and making a decision. We're hoping in August, so then, can move forward with whatever the decision may be. And I welcome David and Diana to add to this whatever you think is important. But
just two quick comments. One is there are actually 2 sets of minutes in this board report because this is our first meeting since November. So there's 2 sets of minutes, and Gary and the task force have done a marvelous job with collating those. And they've also, again, done a marvelous job maintaining the integrity of the process and a thoroughness of the process. So I'm confident in the process. And then the new board is going to hit the ground running. Diana is muted. So thank you.
You may just want to move forward.
Yeah, we're moving forward. So that's great. Thank you, Brian. Do you want to comment also on technology?
Yes, I do. Technology, one of the things, they've been active on a number of fronts, and one of the conversations that I have had and Vanessa had when she was president was about getting CCD involved with our technology committee, so that we could actually share resources, whether that be their land or other things that CCD might have that are appropriate, and where we can share things and stuff like that. CCD, for example, would like to see cell service bite to dust. You know, as we've matured and they've matured, is it any longer an appropriate thing for a place the size of Celebration, especially with Island Village coming on? Jack, last night at the CCD meeting, was made the technology person that's going to work with us, and he'll be working with Jim Hayes, and we're going to start the conversations and everything. And I think, David, I think you're going to talk about it later, but on the meeting that we have, joint meeting, we'll talk about technology even there. So I wanted to do it. Otherwise, technology is moving. It's scrambling on Teams and other things like that. And it's starting to take a life of its own and become more real, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great overview of what the technology committee is doing. I'm going to say more about that when I announce 3 meetings, one of which was Steve asked about. So just to highlight that coming up. But I'll do that after Neil's report. Thank you for the technology. Any questions from the board? Any comments about any of the other committees? Again, we have all the reports. Those are all available with the exception of covenants to the residents. Any other any other board comments on any of the committees? Moving forward then, liaison reports. Go ahead.
Sorry, David, it's Neil. I actually have an update on the dog park committee.
Okay.
Just as part of just my involvement in making sure I'm providing coaching and leadership of the team, I've went ahead and appointed myself as an interim chair for the dog park committee. Part of it is I do need to be more involved in the field. You guys have heard me say this early on. The other part is an opportunity to help kind of coach and navigate my department head, who has been previously assigned to dog park. But I just felt it's a good, it's another committee for me to be a participant in where it isn't going to completely overwhelm the current workload. So there is no defined time for this, but I did need to get more involved in some of our committees that are actually out boots on ground versus just kind of in the office. So nothing will really change other than me being there for however long I feel comfortable and then handing it back off to Nikki.
And just if I may adjust one of your words, you said chair. I think what you mean is management liaison or management.
My apologies.
Yeah, no, just to clarify for the residents, all of our committees have a chair who is a resident of the community, and then we have a board liaison, and we also have a management liaison.
In my head, I said staff liaison, I promise.
Staff liaison works well. Thank you, Neil. And that's great to get involved. Reading their report, there was some just in the documents that all of us have, some major progress moving forward with their recommendations.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And I might like dogs as well. So that was one part of the puzzle.
That works. How about any liaison reports? CDD, Osceola County, Island Village.
Start with CCD.
Brian?
Yeah, I'll start with CCDD. Last night, there was a meeting that I went to. I got 2 or 3 highlights. I told them that we had passed all the tree work. They were happy. So that is behind us. Yesterday, Jack and I actually got together and talked for a little while about events and major holidays. And we discussed that at the CDD meeting last night, and they were happy with the approach. So I need to talk about it tonight with the CROA board, make sure the CROA board is happy. What Jack and I discussed was the trees thing worked well, you know, coming up with a 5 or 6 paper. Here's kind of how we do it, and here's what we roll forward, and here's whose responsibility it is. When you talk about events and major holidays, Jack and I really thought we were talking about July 4th. We thought we were talking about Halloween. We thought you were talking about Thanksgiving to Christmas. We threw Founders Day in there, and we talked about Jeter Bend. We threw Jeter Bend in there because at a couple of these things, they have it. We specifically, in a prior meeting, Vanessa talked about decorating. We talked about decorating, and I said I didn't give 2 hoots about decorating. That was a CDD on the Esplanade responsibility to figure out how they wanted to do it in connection with Town Center, and Jack agreed with that, and CDD board agreed with that last night too. What we thought we should do, a couple of years ago, you may remember, there was traffic and event safety protocols put in place by a team that was from CROA, CDD, the sheriff's office, the county, and that. So we don't want to replicate that work. Instead, what we thought would be good is to say, for these major events that get defined, who has what responsibility? And we talked about Jeter Bend as an example. Jeter Bend happens at Halloween, and it happens around Christmas. Certainly, we know the residents seem to love Jeter Bend, and we know it's creating traffic problems. So let's not ignore it anymore. So if we're going to do the July 4th, okay, this is what we do. This is what Town Center does, you know, with or without fireworks. But if we're going to talk about Halloween, for example, okay, how are we going to treat traffic? Who needs to worry about getting sheriff's deputies? I think it's going to come, and who has what responsibility? For instance, Jeter Bend really has nothing to do with CDD other than sidewalks. But then, okay, it's a CROA responsibility to figure out how we think about time frame and how we think about if we're going to have deputies and how it would get funded and stuff like that. And let's, you know, not have what we have had in the past where everybody points at everybody else of the residents and says, no one's thinking about these things. So we'll take the major events put together. And I told Jack I'd be happy to draft 4 or 5 pages and he'll review it. And then I would bring it to the board and he'd bring it to his board, get feedback. You know, we thought maybe in a joint meeting, we could even lay out this approach for residents, because then people have asked me, and I know other board members, has this been forgotten about? And it hasn't been forgotten about. And as long as we can resolve this before July 4th, that everybody understands this is who's responsible for what, it works. Ultimately, we would have to bring Lexon into this conversation a little too. And I'll let Jack add anything here in a minute. The other thing that got talked about last night was scooters. Just so you know, Osceola County has officially changed the law now so that the scooters, the commercial scooters that used to be around town, are being removed. That's actually want to communicate with all residents, and I told them to reach out to JR. And Neil was on the line last night, and you know, they could put something in the Friday Flash app so people know they are gone. Or if you see them, who to call at the county so they can get them removed. They, being CDD, passed a motion to have a joint meeting on February 16th, subject to our board agreeing, David. So just so you know that.
Good.
And that is the major items. Jack, did you have anything to add from last night?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all, Brian. I will say the one thing we did ask regarding the scooters is that because code enforcement will be the responsible agency for enforcing this, any resident who happens to see an issue like this, they need to contact code enforcement, and we ask you to publish that phone number for code enforcement in the Friday Flash or something like that in cell service.
Very good. And that may be a good article in the March Celebration News. What we're not seeing. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can go through the ordinance and spell it out why, what the requirements are. It doesn't ban scooters per se, but it does require them to get a license from the county, and that requires a vote of the community to enable that.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. So there'll be a draft document, and then we can talk about that, and I'll talk about the community meeting in a moment.
Right.
Anything else? Liaison reports. Island Village, you want to chat about, or?
Well, David, I don't have any Osceola County updates. The commissioner and I haven't reconvened this year yet, but as I continue those regularly occurring meetings with Commissioner Chowdhury, I'll continue to update the board at our board meetings.
Okay, good.
David, I think there's a question about the scooters are going away in the chat box.
It's the rental scooters is what we're talking about, not private scooters. Correct, Jack?
I think she just wants clarification that indeed, if we see scooters that are on the corner, we should call code enforcement. That is what she's looking for. Identification.
And JR is going to, I think the message was JR would be writing something up.
The answer to the question is yes. They are no longer allowed. JR will reach out to, forget her name, at CCD. They'll give us something we can put in the Friday Flash, but they're gone.
Yeah.
without a,
Yeah.
a vote
Yeah.
by the residents.
It's been a long journey, but it's nice to see it. Anything with Island Village? The one piece I'll say about Island Village is Neil and Susanna and Brian and I and Greg Felak from CCDD and others met on site at Island Village almost 2 weeks ago and looked at a couple of the model homes from under construction and some of the layout. And we're talking about a joint meeting that would highlight what the plans are with Island Village. That involves the school. But let me say more about that when I talk about the joint meeting that's just around the corner in 3 weeks. So I'll hold that. But it's things are underway and they're talking about sales in April. Am I correct, Neil? Sales beginning in April.
Yeah, at present, you know, all variables being held constant, their anticipated first sales are going to happen in April.
Okay.
But of course, we're not supposed to say that in public.
But that's anyway. Okay. Okay. Can we go to financial review? Is there anything else before financial review? Okay, financial review. Is that you, Brian?
Sure. Or I don't care. It can be me or Neil. Doesn't matter.
Or Neil?
I think the bottom line is the financials are still strong. You know, if you cook cash income less expenses, we've got a profit this year of $45,000. If you look at operating cash, we've got $1.4 million at the end of November. We got replacement reserves of $1.8 million. Capital improvements are at $830,000. And as a reminder, we had to pay the $245 to CDD for our piece of the road. So that pay down is reflected in here. And when we have our meeting on February 1st, it'll be an important point to know that we got $830,000. So if we start with $2 million wish list, we got a math problem. Right. Just being blunt, you know, contingency is still at 485 and operating services area is strong. We talked about celebration services earlier at the 138. So, I mean, cash wise, we're doing fine. Assessments wise, we're doing fine. So I don't think there's anything here that's different than the story you've heard before.
Okay, very good. Neil, anything to add on that?
No, just positive cash position. It's a good problem to have after the year that everybody experienced. So,
and we made a decision as a board, what was it, 9 months ago, to halt any capital expenditures and just see how this whole thing plays out. I think we did the halt until through June of 2021. So it's nice to see this starting to build back up. How about management report? Neil.
Yep. So 2021 budgets, again, I think everybody who's present understands we're typically in arrears when we're reporting for board meetings. But 2021 budgets, with all budgets approved in November, assessment notices were mailed in the 3rd week of December 2020. However, many residents across Celebration entities have experienced delayed assessment notice deliveries. And you know, it's the Postal Service made it very clear that they struggled in December. This is an opportunity for management team to, you know, predict that better in the future so that we can get these out probably early December. With our lifestyle events, JR and his team, they continue to successfully social distance with their holiday programs. 4th quarter, for those that were there, Founders Day concert by O-Town, Motown, holiday concert with Frank Carso and Gary Leviti, movie nights, Dr. Seuss, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Miracle. The vast majority of the town hall team participated in the holiday light parade and the teddy bear toss. I did not realize how cold it can get here in winter. So now I know, and moving forward, I'll be more prepared. And then in 2021, which is where we are now, we're going to have more updated kind of swag and logoed monogrammed items for inventory. One of them just launched this week with the 25th anniversary. It's an etched stainless steel water bottle. And then food trucks are going to be making a return, but it will be significantly under social distancing guidelines, online ordering and payment best practices. So this is not a floodgate opening. This is a slow trickle to reintroduce opportunities for our residents and our homeowners, as we've had success with previous events and similar. So phase one been approved by TCC for Island Village. 88 lots have been platted for Mattamy to begin building. I mean, I still say in here, first sale should be forthcoming in first quarter. We're not supposed to talk about that, so we'll give them every benefit of the doubt. I did add in here that Mattamy Legal did submit first declaration. However, some concerns with deficit funding, transfer, common area, and assessment rates were brought up with legal's counsel. That was Susanna, Tom, and I. And I think we're on version 3, and we're getting close to the finish line. The board, or Tom Slayton, will circulate to the board where we are with that. And just for complete transparency, the objections that your on-site team kind of saw early on was some of the language was a little less specific on the transfer of common area elements and service areas. And what we're trying to avoid is a situation where if there is a shortfall between the transfer of common area elements and not enough Island Village homeowners to have a net zero, that's what we're trying to avoid, so that CROA isn't subsidizing amenities and maintenance and staffing without actually getting the assessments to equal that from new Island Village homeowners. So again, at the end of the day, I mean, it's still celebration. It's still everybody's property, but just historically, we want to make sure that we fully understand when CROA is accepting the transfer, what the financial obligation is going to be to our residents and to our board. And then personnel, Susanna and I feel that we've hit the ground running. I think we're in month 4 together of your new executive team over in Town Hall. Jessica Bonilla, for those that don't know, you should know by now, she has accepted her promotion into community standards manager. And you have a new business office restructure. So in the past, we've previously had a business office manager. Between Susanna and I and our both of us kind of coming up through the industry, we actually have quite a bit with our own administrative skill sets. So the admins in the business office are now, it's 2 admins versus a manager and an admin. Amy Gusweiler is pretty much 100% committed to me with support to our financials. And a lot of this feedback came from finance committee. So those early meetings with the finance committee diagnosing some of the just pitfalls that we were experiencing, we've shored that up with a dedicated person in Town Hall, AP, AR, receivables, collections, research that will support me supporting our board treasurer and our finance committee. And then Anna Atencio, who initially started ARC coordinator, she, in my opinion, she had a courageous conversation with us, just really owned up that it just wasn't inspiring her. And we did have the other admin position. So Anna will be focusing most of her time with Susanna with respect to board meetings, board packets, board agendas, meeting minutes, getting things uploaded. So to Steve's point earlier, we now have additional administrative support for 2 areas that I think recently had, I don't want to criticize anybody, but we definitely were falling short with the service to our board and to the residents. So those are the changes in Town Hall as of now.
Good.
I'm always very open and honest about our team and our personnel. It's, there's no confusing who pays those bills. So I feel transparency with staffing is the best policy.
Thank you, Neil. Any questions from the board? Okay, just a couple of other updates. I just want to, before we get into action items. This will address Steve's question, but at our workshop a week and a half ago, we started to talk about, and we were frustrated with the lack of a drainage study. That has come in, I think it arrived yesterday. So we agreed at that board meeting, that board workshop, that we would dedicate a board workshop. We've scheduled it for Monday, February 1st. It'll be 6 p.m. We decided to do it in, at the end of the day. So it's 6 to 7:30, and we're going to talk about our capital improvements. So one of the things that we had tasked Neil and the management team to work on is look at all of our amenities, look at our facilities, and outline some of the options that the board has. And so that will be presented to us in discussion format. I have a draft agenda for that time together, which is board discussion, management presentation and dialogue, and resident engagement. That is Monday, February 1st at 6 p.m., all virtual. The agenda and the 2 attachments, if you really want to read the drainage evaluation report at 31 pages, or the capital improvements strategy at 40 pages, that is the starting point for our collective discussion. Now, that doesn't mean we end the discussion that night. We've already agreed that we're going to carry on the discussion at the following board workshop that Friday, which is February 5th. So that's one community meeting larger than we would normally schedule. The second community meeting comes from Vanessa's work with Greg. When Greg Felak was elected the chair of the CCDD, Vanessa worked with him to schedule a joint meeting. What might that look like? When Vanessa stepped back and I then started to talk with Greg, you know, we both have an ambitious agenda. We also want the technology to work. Neil and Gary from CCDD are working that through. So we have that one scheduled for Tuesday, February 16th, also at 6 p.m. Again, it'll be virtual. There's some CCDD requirements that require 3 of them to be physical on site, but we will have a virtual meeting. Brian's alluded to the fact that we're going to talk about technology. So we'll have, I know the technology committee from CROA is very excited about sharing some insights. We want to talk about joint efforts, and Brian's already talked about the decorations, so some initial discussion on that, and some other joint efforts with CCDD. I know that there's been discussions over the years of, you know, a curb and sidewalk cleaner, but there may be other things. And then the third part, so the third agenda item would be just open forum for residents to raise questions or issues, because we'll have both boards present, as many as we can have present. So that meeting and that agenda will be posted. It is not yet posted, and you'll see a special email blast on each of those. And then the third that I think is already on the calendar is our annual meeting, which is Wednesday, March 3rd, also at 6 p.m. That will be entirely virtual this year. So those are the 3 upcoming meetings. The workshop with CROA focusing on our capital improvements, the joint meeting with CDD, and which is Tuesday, February 16th, and then our annual meeting. The other comment with working with Greg is, and then CDD, is one of our initiatives, again, under Vanessa's leadership, pulling this together, and we really want to work more closely together. So that's part of that CCDD meeting. We had also, Greg and I talked about having Manami in Island Village as part of that, and we thought, oh my gosh, that could take up an entire meeting. Particularly with questions about the school, some change of hands of land and so forth, and what the overall plan is. So I know the community is very hungry for that. So Greg and I are looking at a meeting devoted just to that. That would be a joint meeting. We'll schedule that with CCDD and the respective boards. So I don't know if any of the other board members have any questions about that.
You have a question about when the materials are going to be posted for the February 1st meeting?
It'll probably be end of the day tomorrow, first thing Friday. That would be my guess. It's simply with the board has seen a draft agenda. I just want an okay on the agenda about how we flow. So we keep it orderly, but we want to make the materials all available to the community. And it's exciting. I think we got that from Neil this afternoon, probably 4 o'clock. So thank you for 71 pages of advanced reading, Neil. But I think that was like four. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's exciting to look at that. And I think the community will be excited with the options. And my first read on it, which was very quick, is it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. But a lot of options are laid out for this board and the future board to digest and discuss and then prioritize. Thank you for raising that.
I just wanted to make sure that the folks that are in attendance, the board only got that from me about 3-4 o'clock, but I to echo what David is saying, we intend to have it at least no later than Friday published for our residents to review so that they can be prepared for the workshop on Monday.
And my only concern, you know, rather than just say the agenda is discussion of capital improvements, I wanted to organize that. So I created 6 topics that'll move us through our limited time together. And again, this is the first formal, rich discussion with some documentation. And we'll go through that on Monday at 6. Anything else? Go ahead, please.
I think we ought to try to get the materials out sooner rather than later. It'll take residents a while to read it. I mean, it's clearly going to take us a while to go through 70 pages. It'll probably make for a more streamlined meeting if people have read it versus just asking 1,000 questions.
Right, right. And we're going to be limited with time, and we'll get to it as much as we can. But just all I would ask of the fellow board members is just take a look at the draft agenda that I prepared. If you have any concerns with it, I mean, we could send that out first thing tomorrow, but I just wanted to, I created that agenda as a draft this afternoon. So I just want you to take a look at it, see if it makes sense, and then we can modify, and then we'll post it publicly. Okay, let's move to action items. First action item, motion to appoint PJ Cartwright to coordinate the vote tabulation for the 2021 CROA election. I know we talked about that recently and we formalized it here for the board to vote on. Do we have a motion?
This is Vanessa on motion
Thank you, Vanessa. Second,
to approve.
Diana will second.
Diana's seconding. Any discussion?
Thank you, PJ.
Yes, absolutely. And for many years.
Well, and it's no secret, PJ's moving. I think it'd be nice to amend the motion and also thank her for her years of service to the community and for making the voting process work so smoothly.
I think that would be a great amendment to the motion. Thank you, Brian. I would agree.
I
Diana?
would as well.
Diana agrees. Okay. That is, yeah, she's done a fantastic job. The integrity of that for the hand voting. You know, we encourage people to vote online, but the hand voting, the print version. Any other discussion? All in favor? I'll just do it as a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have anyone opposed? I know that Kevin had to take leave of the meeting. I don't think he's here. So the motion passes unanimously. Marianne, I forgot to welcome you. So I knew you were 5 minutes late, but thank you for being here. So the motion passes. Item 2.
I'd like to motion to approve number 2 and number 3 together. They're both regarding the same topic of Blue Sage Townhome.
I second.
A motion.
Thank you. That's a motion by Vanessa and a second by Brian. And for information, one was the roof and gutter replacement of the Blue Sage Townhome garages, $62,900. And the other item bundled with this was for the owners representative, KWA engineers in the amount of $4,725. So that's the motion and second. Any discussion?
I think the only thing
Go ahead.
this is the follow through of what was done in the prior year. So this was actually agreed to and approved in concept a year ago with the work being done and happiness with the work. So this is the follow through.
Right, and that was part of the documentation because that was the townhomes themselves. This is for the garages with those townhomes. So thank you for that clarification. Diana, were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Motion passes 5-0. The next item is about irrigation controllers.
I'd like to motion to approve 4, 5, and 6 together as a consent agenda. Those are all with regards to irrigation and all for service areas.
Thank you.
So moved.
And Brian has a second. And those are for Academy Row, Parkview Townhomes, and Roseville Corner. They're all coming from the respective service area replacement reserves. First one is an amount of just under $1,700. Second one, just under $1,700. And the third one, just under $4,400. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item has been adapted and updated. Motion to initiate the filing process for 11 non-compliance items through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine. Do we have a motion?
Motion to
So moved. This is
approve
Diana.
the 11 compliance items.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa.
I'll second, because I think Diana was talking too. So I can second Diana.
Okay.
You're muted, David.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I don't know what happened. You don't touch any dials. Someone's muting me. Okay. So that motion is from Diana, second by Vanessa. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 8, item 8, motion to approve the conversion of 5 fines to specific assessments.
Motion to approve.
That was Vanessa. Brian, your voice was there.
Brian was chiming too.
He's trying to beat you. All right.
It's okay.
Any discussion on any of these? These are all visible to the board and not to residents. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And I was an aye. Motion passes 5-0. We are not doing item 9. We have board comments.
My only comment, and David actually reached out to me earlier to see if I wanted to mention this at the beginning of the meeting. If you have not noticed, I have stepped back as president, which is why David is running the meeting and will be running for the remainder of my term. Thank you very much, David. My husband suffered from a heart attack back over the holidays, and just to make sure that I was spending time with my husband and my family rather than responding to emails and other obligations of the president, David graciously agreed to step in as vice president into the president role. So thank you very much. And for those that have reached out to me privately, thank you very much for your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
And that was going to be my board comment to thank you, Vanessa, for your leadership over the last year and then prioritizing family. And I think that's very important. I also want to thank Diana for stepping into the role of vice president. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Until March, whatever the date is, 4th or 5th. Any other board comments? Anything, Neil, Susanna?
The only thing I have is we're excited for 2021, and this isn't said enough. We appreciate all of our volunteers that make Celebration what it is, our board members, our committee members, and then those of you who kind of form the hit squad who do things that we don't necessarily see in the formalities of board meetings. So thank you to all of our volunteers. We're really excited about this year.
Yeah, thank you. And we look forward to I know it'll be virtual, but we look forward to a good annual meeting in early first Wednesday of March. Motion to adjourn, unless there's any other comments.
Susanna, did you want to chime in? I thought I interrupted you.
Nope, not at all. You said it great.
Sorry.
Motion to adjourn, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 6:45.
No one's opposed. I heard it, 6:45, 45 minutes. Thank you so much. Vanessa
Thank you,
still
beat
holds,
Vanessa's record,
Vanessa
David.
holds the record. Vanessa still
I
holds
still
the
have it.
record.
Oh, you still
23
have it. Oh,
Vanessa,
23 minutes for me. 23 minutes for me, baby.
well, that's
You
going to be
went-
pretty hard to ever beat.
just wait till February. Just wait till February.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a good evening. Have a good
Have a nice
weekend.
evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.